Hello friends, today we will see the concept of trade barriers. We all know that from the formation of WTO, World Trade Organization, there is free trade movement in the world. And when we say it is free trade, it means there are no barriers to trade levied by any country who is the member of WTO. So every country removes trade barriers. Barrier is nothing but something which restricts the free movement of goods and services. If these barriers are removed, the trade between the countries becomes free. That is trade barrier. Why these barriers are levied? Mainly because every country wants to ensure that the local industry grows, local industry develops. If the imported products are cheaper, are better in quality, well, people in the country will start buying those products. So imports will go up. And if imports are more, there will be less demand for the domestic products produced by the local industrialists. So to give a protection to the local industrialists and thereby to ensure the growth of the economy of the country, well, trade barriers are levied. With this, second thing is ensured, and that is creation of employment opportunities. If you produce locally, well, local youth may get the employment opportunities. The third thing may be to have consumer protection. By importing the goods, well, the consumers may not be protected regarding the quality of the product, regarding the after-sale services and all. One more reason may be there for levying the trade barriers, and that is national security. Similarly, many times one country imposes the trade barriers on another country. The country, therefore, having such restrictions, will have to retaliate. That is, if my products are not imported by another country, I will levy the barriers in such a way that the products of that country will also not be imported in my country. These are some of the reasons why trade barriers are levied. What types of barriers could be? There are broadly two types of barriers. One are called as tariff barriers and the other group is called as non-tariff barriers. The word tariff refers to the tax imposed on imported goods. That may be called as customs duty. If you increase the custom duty or levy the custom duty, the imported product becomes more costly. The price of that product goes up in the local market. And hence that product which is imported may not compete with the prices of the domestic product. Hence, there will not be demand for imported products because of increase in the price more than the domestic product. So, tariff barrier is the simplest method of imposing the restrictions on imports. The other types of barriers may be non-tariff barriers. So here tariff is not taken into consideration. So no custom duty is levied or increased, but quantitative restrictions are imposed. That is, you may levy the quota. The importer cannot import the goods more than a particular limit, more than a particular quantity prescribed. That is called as quota. Or there may be a combination of quota and tariff. Second way of non-tariff barriers. Up to a certain quantity, there will be no tariff. Beyond that quantity, well, there will be tariff. And beyond a certain quantity, the rate of custom duty may be higher and higher and higher. A combination of two, quota as well as tariff. Another non-tariff barrier could be in the form of licenses to be given. So if you don't issue the license, well, you cannot allow the imports. Import will be restricted by issuing licenses, and we probably know that there are three types of lists for licensing. Open general license, where you can import anything. Restricted trade license, only for certain products the import is allowed, like that. This is called as import license. One more barrier could be in the form of subsidies given to the local manufacturers. So if you give subsidy to the local manufacturer, what happens is their cost is reduced with the amount of subsidy. And if their cost is less, they can sell the product at a reduced price in the market. And this reduced price then can compete with the imported price, imported product's price. Hence, that imported product may not be attractive in terms of price to the local customers. This is called as subsidy to the local industry. One more restriction could be in the form of local content requirement. If you allow the import of a product, then government may impose one condition that in that product, our local raw material to such extent, to a specified extent, must be used. If you don't use our raw material in your product, your imports will not be allowed. This is called as local content requirement. One way is to devalue the currency. If the government devalues the currency, then naturally the imports will become costlier, dearer, because the value of local currency goes down and you will have to pay more and more local currency for importing the goods. This is one more method of non-tariff barrier. Then there can be technical compliances which you can impose on the exporters. So while importing the goods, you will have to fulfill, that is the exporter will have to fulfill certain technical compliances. Just to give one simple example, Indian grapes are not accepted in Europe at certain times. Why? Because they say that these grapes are not fulfilling the conditions of environment. So they are not environment compliant, and hence we will not import that. This is technical. Consumer protection could be one such technical compliance, or health could be one such technical compliance. And another restriction in the form of non-tariff barrier is imposing restrictions on investments. So if investments are restricted, naturally there will be less chances of having more and more imports. These are some of the tariffs and non-tariff barriers. Well, you can protect the industry with these barriers. Local industry can flourish with these barriers, but at the same time, there is a drawback of this also. And that drawback is the local industry may become weak. They may not remain competitive because they are growing in protected environment. Therefore, they may not try to reduce the cost, they may not try to improve the quality, and therefore their competitiveness may be less, and therefore the growth and development of the economy may hamper. However, still these trade restrictions are imposed the world over, and we have seen the latest example of that during COVID. US imposed lot of trade barriers on Chinese goods. This goes on irrespective of WTO agreement. Well, that is all about trade barriers. Let us meet next time with some new issue. Till then, goodbye.